get into more of an embodied state of happiness. Because if happiness or joy or fulfillment is something that you are still feeling disconnected from, because it is also an innate part of your nature as consciousness, you most likely have a subconscious projection of happiness externalized outside of you.
Welcome to Spread Your Third Eye podcast, where we're going to spread that third eye wide open and take you beyond the veils into other dimensions. We have Georgia Jean.
Hello.
I am your host, Mia Reitz, and we're going to be talking to the Circle of Light, which are higher dimensional beings coming from all consciousness.
That's right.
Here to elevate our planet and help each individual and the human collective, and hopefully just help the world.
Yeah, become a more magnificent place.
Yes. And we're ready for that. I know you are. I know I am. I know the Circle of Light probably is. They're tired of the shit.
They're probably like, say, oh my God, another one on the phone complaining about stuff.
Like, we're done. Hurry up, guys. It's time.
Hurry up. It's time.
So we're going to go ahead and
they're very patient.
Yeah.
Extraordinarily patient.
Yes.
Yeah.
We're going to go ahead and just bring in the circle right now, because we're going to talk about, actually, it was a Circle of Light's idea. They just came through and said, we want to talk about happiness.
Indeed.
I'm here for that. So are you here?
We are here. Indeed, we are here.
Hello.
Indeed, dear ones. We're always over delighted and joyful to be connecting in this way, and very grateful for the efforts that you are putting in to create this multidimensional experience with your dear friends.
Yes. Now we're going to go over your idea, happiness.
Happiness. Yes.
Let me just ask 1 second.
Indeed.
Is happiness joy, bliss, happiness? Is there differences?
Well, we would say it is one of the states of non-resistance.
Okay.
Yes. So it is highly sought after and not so often achieved, although we want to remind you, because a lot of the times your news media and what you see on television would tend to really amplify the lack of, but there is so much consciousness on your planet right now that actually is in that bliss, non-resistant, joyful state. And everywhere you look, unbeknownst to you, you have archetypes around you that are already embodying that state of beingness, that state of non-resistance and expansion. But are
we talking about plants, animals, humans?
All
rocks?
of the above, dear one.
Okay.
All of the above, yes. Particularly because resistance is, on a psychological level, a big marker of the human experience. So when we talk about, there's different types of resistance. Resistance where literally the chair is resisting being Mia. This is a physical resistance. Something in the physical construct is not allowing this chair to be morphed with Mia, even though a Mia couch would probably be very comfortable and lovely and quite beautiful. The two things are in separation. But a big marker of the human experience is that you have psychological resistance. And psychological resistance is, or the psychological state, is that when your mind is operating out of the simple function of being a tool. So the mind as a tool, for example, knows how to set up this studio, turn on the lights. So Mia has a wonderful mind as a tool, bringing all of this together. And your mind as a tool has been learning more and more how to do that effectively and efficiently. But before you could even get to this point where your mind was working as a clear tool, you had to work through your psychological resistance. Mm-hmm. Psychological resistance is more along the lines of, oh, well, if I make this podcast, what will people think about it? What will people think? Will it be good enough? These are the markings of psychological resistance. And it is that psychological resistance that is the number one cause that impedes the expansive state of happiness, joy, etc., etc. When we talk about, and many other spiritual leaders have talked about this concept of the state of the no mind. The state of the no mind is the absence of the psychological mind interfering with where consciousness is actually just flowing and trying to deliver to you that which it already knows that you on some level have identified as what will make you happy, or what your heart already knows is going to make you happy and bring you into a higher state of expansion. Now, so many of you are here, of course, at this time where there's this big evolutionary shift going on. And so you're really sorting through that process. Well, this makes me happy. This is good. We want more of this. We want less of this. That's part of your free will sort of sorting house you're going through by looking at a lot of the results of the experiment so far in very defined ways, and kind of being like, so you're sending out those desire requests to consciousness, and consciousness is delivering. It's delivering you the codes of creation, what you need to actually bring forth this happiness. But it's happening at the same time as the psychological resistance is really active. Of course, many of you know that idea. Why don't you just sleep on it and see how you feel in the morning? Because when you rest at night, you drop the egoic mind, and more of that consciousness that's trying to come in to inform you how to align with your best reality is able to come in. But then once you wake up and then the mind starts to kick in with its psychological resistance, there you are again. So understanding the role of resistance in your reality is really, really helpful. And understanding the difference between the mind as a tool and the psychological mind will help you become more discerning. Is what I'm thinking right now really useful, helpful for me to accomplish my dreams, goals, and desires, or to figure out in which way to best serve this alignment that I'm feeling? So Mia had a desire to create a podcast, a strong desire to create a podcast coming from her broader consciousness. Now is this thinking that I'm thinking right now in assistance and congruence with bringing this desire point into manifestation, or is it still creating resistance? So that's a big start. Discernment. Once you understand how to pass between your thoughts and your thinking process, then you can start to use the tools that will dissolve that psychological resistance. And the natural state becomes expansion. It is a space of no resistance. It's a space of the no mind where more of what you're desiring can actually also drop in the happiness that you're seeking, the things that you think, believe, and probably will make you happy very often, can actually drop in and start to become manifest, and so on.
So I have a question, though, because I can actually be experiencing something that I really like on my external worlds. Indeed. But in the internal world, I can still feel a little unfulfilled within me. Where is that coming from? Even though I'm like looking around, I'm like, my life is perfect. I have everything I've ever wanted in the physical reality. But why do I feel a little gray inside?
A little gray inside. And this, we would say that the answer remains the same, is that there's still some sort of aspect of your consciousness that's in resistance. Obviously, this is a spectrum because as you go through every day and every moment, there's things happening and shifting in your psychological state and in your biological psychological state, because the nervous system has a huge impact on what your psychological state can be experiencing at that time. All of these things, it's sort of like moving and flowing. And remember that even when you have that resistance, it is setting forth those requests to consciousness to kind of get to the bottom of what it is and learn how to release it so you can go even more deeply into the state. But we would say that these are layers of that psychological framework that continue to be peeled back. Some of the programming that you have received about what will make you happy as well can be the disparity too, because you may have received this idea, all right, well, and we'll use silly, obvious things. You watch a lot of advertising and you see someone driving their luxury Mercedes-Benz, and now your mind is saying, oh, well, the Mercedes-Benz is what is going to make me happy. And then you manifest the Mercedes-Benz, and yes, there may be some pleasure in the experience of driving it. It may be the thing that makes you happy, but maybe what made you think it was going to make you happy was a truthful alignment with your core self that has incarnated as consciousness. And that's part of the revelation process that, maybe that isn't it. Maybe I need to go in deeper to discover and to open up within me the gateways that will allow the true source of my happiness to become manifest. Because sometimes people learn about spirituality and they start to say, well, it's only the inside that can make you happy. And you can't have external things make you happy because then something's missing inside. And some people think only the external will make you happy, and they don't bother to look into the internal. What we would say is it doesn't matter whether it's internal or external, it is alignment.
Interesting.
It is alignment. It is alignment that clicks such that the channel opens and flows, and that makes you happy. So whether you're looking for that external manifestation to make you happy, if it's not really aligned with part of the expanded core being within you that recognizes it and clicks with you, it may give you some temporary pleasure or whatever. We don't want to be total down about this, but it may not really open that channel where you get that click in, flow state, bliss state, happiness.
Yeah.
Now, we want to also say that on your journey to get to that open channel, you innately will touch upon resistance. And that's part of the process too. So we like to talk about this idea of radical non-resistance, that even if you're not feeling super happy right now, don't resist that. Don't think you're doing something wrong. You may be in that state where you're exploring and discovering and actually harvesting energy from the resistance that's going to bring forth that next state of expansion that's going to feel more like happiness.
Oh, that's a good idea to really feel into that and harvest it by loving and accepting it and opening up your heart center.
That's right. And the reason why we say to start to manifest from the heart, to surrender some of your ideas of what you think will make you happy, or to pursue everything from that mind-based place, is that mind-based place is always going to include that programming that you have received from family, social media, the news, historically. Well, this is how people are happy. You do this, you do A, B, C, and D, and that should equal happiness. Well, many of you, dear ones, as we have shared before, are more than even the old human framework. So you have experienced states of connection, bliss, happiness in other planetary realms, other dimensional realms. And so that core alignment is different. So a traditional concept of what would make someone happy isn't necessarily your alignment.
Yeah.
And you're wrestling through that programming that you have received that includes the biological programming. Biological programming says for the tribe to survive, everyone has to have children. You have to do this, all this stuff together.
Have children, have a good paying job, work for somebody. I want to just bring that up as, I realized that this kind of work makes me happy and joyful. And a lot of people that I know really judge my my passions because it's very taboo against society, right? And what we've been learning as religion and whatever else.
The right way to exist.
It wasn't the car, and it wasn't the house, and it wasn't the kids. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love being a mom of my kids, but the husband and all that other stuff, because I had attained all the things, and that I still felt like, oh man, it just wasn't bringing me that joy and passion until I fell into this work. And this is what brings me so much light and so much passion. So it's so true, is it like society will tell you what you should like, what you shouldn't. Indeed. But if you're a starseed or you have
other galactic interests,
like you just gotta just not, like, we obviously know not to follow the crowd, but
so
break out of your shell and be authentic.
Whether
and people judge really you or not, because it's not worth it otherwise.
And why we say go to the heart is because at this point, because again, there is so much of that biological program and traditional program, and also just what this country says makes you happy, or that state makes you happy, or in this city, happiness is defined by how many pigs you raise, and in that city, happiness is defined by how many paintings you sell. All of these mini playing fields that are the theaters of reality, and there are so many here on Earth, you could be in a place where the core definitions of happiness just aren't aligned with your sort of energetic makeup that resonates with happiness. But what does know what is going to make you happy, and what does know the fastest way for you to get into those alignments is the heart center. And most people are going through a process of what we call revelation, where a lot is being revealed either in the framework of, there's all these core programs that are generating us that don't necessarily make us happy, or there are these personal belief structures that don't make me happy. It's all being revealed so it can be unpeeled, and the energy that's invested in those old programs can be harvested from that manifestation, that creation, that belief structure, all the stories you have built up around that, and to be taken and given to the heart so the heart can energize the pathway in front of you that it knows is going to bring you happiness, fulfillment, joy, etc., etc. So many people going through a lot of changes right now, and we want to just bring some comfort to that concept, because there's a lot of course correction going on as you're going through this experience to get into alignment with the sense of expansion, fulfillment that is part of your essence that you incarnated here with.
So I wanted to, give the step-by-step, and I always like to remind everybody, we'll put a link below to get her heart centering course or information, exercise. More in depth. But when you are feeling that unhappiness or whatever situation, go into your body, feel those feelings. I love and accept all that. That is harvesting that energy. Just love and accept. Don't resist it. Love and accept whatever you feel. This is a way to ascend, is you have to be in your body and you have to feel these feelings. That is your superpower. Love and accept all of that and put it into your heart center. You cannot create or destroy energy, so you're recycling that, giving it to your heart center to then energize to recreate that new reality for you.
Beautifully shared. Yeah. Yes, that's correct, because energy can't be destroyed or created. You can't get rid of what makes you unhappy. You can change the form that the energy is in. So again, we go back to that idea of ice, water, steam or mist. It's the frequency that it is. The form is changing, but the energy itself is not good or bad. So when you're resisting, you're sort of keeping things frozen and locked down. Mm-hmm. So we encourage this kind of radical non-resistance right now, because it gives you the opportunity, even if there are things that are bringing you discomfort, and that discomfort feels like it's interfering with your capacity to experience happiness right now. The purpose of that discomfort is to simply harvest the energy. And one of the big things we want to steer our dear friends away from is the habit of a lot of overanalysis and rumination and thinking about why you may or may not be unhappy. Because as soon as you are doing a lot of rumination, analysis, thinking, you're really in your mind, and you're really in that psychological mind, and that is the mind that is programmed to create the unhappiness. So as much as you're exploring your reality within that framework, it generally tends to circulate you back to what it knows. And let's just say unhappiness is the state that you know more than happiness.
Yeah.
Even if you had that aha moment, I have allergies to dogs, and my dogs are around, and they're always irritating my sinuses, and that's why I'm unhappy. Even if you had that aha moment, first of all, if it was the true source of your unhappiness, would usually drop in not while you're analyzing, but in a point of spaciousness where you went into the no mind, because insight, happiness, clarity, focus, all of these things happen in the now moment. And the psychological mind is sort of the antithesis of the now moment, because you're usually out of the now moment. Oftentimes, people will get that aha moment after they have been thinking and ruminating and all this sort of thing. And there is something in that process where there is a connection to the energy that could be generating the unhappiness. But the breakthrough happens usually when they've stopped thinking about it.
Which you can't think when you're in your heart, guys. Go into your heart, feel the center of your chest. That's being heart-centered. That's getting out of your mind and going here, and you're not thinking. Here.
Yes, there's a lot less thinking. There might be the state of knowingness starts to emerge. What is the state of knowingness? So say you go, okay, I knew it all the time. My dogs have dander and I'm allergic to it, and it's been irritating me. I thought about it. Now. Okay, so that's knowingness, which is one of the states of creation, which we will talk more in depth about soon. Knowingness is not intruded upon with psychological thinking. Mm-hmm. So knowingness is a clarity. Oh, I just know I should call this person. I just know I should do this. I just know I should make this podcast. Mm-hmm. You're no longer going, should I or shouldn't I do this? Mm-hmm. Is it right or not? Will this make me happy or won't it make me happy? Could it make my dogs or not my dogs? All of that is this sort of psychological stuff. Knowingness is a clear state. Something has dropped in energetically that has the clarity of manifestation, although it is not yet physically manifest. But we will go into that a little bit more later on. So, but once you're in rumination, spending a lot of time in there, you're going to the place that creates the problems to find the solutions. When you go into your heart, you're going into the center that bypasses the program center that creates the problems. So you're going to get your knowingness much faster. And your heart will also show you, one of the first things that it begins to show you is what is in the way of you being heart-centered. Because the trick is to just be heart-centered. The rest is easy after that. The more you are heart-centered, the more the heart is naturally creating what is going to make you happy. And you're going to think about it a lot less because you're going to be in that state more and more and more. The challenge is to actually get in the heart center because there's so much of that psychological noise pulling you out. And the reason why there's so much psychological noise is because most of you have lived a mind-based experience for so long. All of your energy is invested in the mind creation, including all its thoughts, feelings, emotions, memories, perceptions, projections, all of this. So there's just more energy there. Law of attraction says your attention goes where there's more energy. You have more energy in your mind manifestation. That is why it is attractive. Every time you use the love and acceptance, you're taking a bite out of that energetic framework and you're bringing it into the heart. You're giving the heart it needs to generate the reality that is going to make you happy, because your heart already knows you deserve it. Your heart is creating from an infinite space of expansion and can deliver things to you in ways that are not imaginable to your linear mind.
Can't wait. It's already happening for me. But I wanted to touch on the going into your heart. Your heart will reveal to you what is in resistance. For like, I don't know, like a year and a half, 2 years. Every time I'd go into my heart, I'd feel this like tightness in my throat.
Indeed, yes.
And I had worked on it a few times with you. And then just recently I was really going into like, what is this? Because the first few times it was still there, like little microdoses of release. But then just recently I had 3 really big releases where my tightness in my throat is pretty much gone. And it was real interesting because I tapped into 2 past lives where I had this abandonment. Indeed. And it was a very huge aspct of me that Indeed. I needed to integrate.
Indeed, yes.
And part of it was I did a subconscious level. I was angry with God that I was in the middle of the ocean, God, and I'm scared of the ocean right now in my life these days. I was dropped in the middle of the ocean to die. I was totally abandoned. And I tapped into that. This was the very last session that I had with you. Indeed. That finally took the rest of it away. And it was just recently. Anyway, and I did not know that there was some subconscious feelings that I can't believe that God would let me die that way. One of the most horrific deaths. And I lost faith in God, and maybe I wasn't worthy, and maybe I wasn't lovable, or maybe he, or he wasn't real.
Yes.
And so all that released. By the way, now I don't have that in my throat, which is just wild. You really do have a connection physically with your mental, emotional state, I will tell you.
And what you're speaking of now is really powerful. I mean, glad that you've brought it up, dear one, because projections on God, and whether it is a biblical concept of God, like God is a judging entity, or it is just a sense of disconnection to God or to a God source. Really what we're speaking of when we talk about God again is that source consciousness, that infinite energy, the ocean of consciousness from which all manifestation emanates from, but is also the feeding source, if you will. Now, if you were a little baby and you were drinking milk out of a bottle, and there was only the teeniest hole in that bottle, everything would feel like a struggle trying to get that drink, that milk out of the bottle. Everything's a struggle. So this is when you have a projection on God from a memory, from an imprint, and there's different ways that you can get an imprint from God, about God. It could be from going to church and hearing that God's throwing thunder and lightning at his children and blowing them up when they don't do the right thing and like nailing them to the cross and whatnot, going straight to hell or bad. Or it can be simply from a deep unconscious memory of going into separation from source through the birth process. It can be from a past life memory coming in where you felt that deep betrayal and strong emotional belief structure. It could be from your life right now where you're just saying, why is God doing this to me? Mm-hmm. These deep frameworks are like the teat of the bottle that is there's so little space for the milk to come through. Everything is a struggle. Everything is difficult. Everything is painful. You're sucking out of it and nothing's coming through. It's all difficult. Now, if you open up that hole and let it come through, now it feels like the manna is flowing from heaven, and you get that flow of consciousness that's coming in and creating the expansion. The concept of abandonment by God, which is very close to total disconnection from source, is a profoundly challenging experience in the human zeitgeist because it biologically affects people on a survival level. If source supply is not feeding me, I'm going to die, and it feels like death. So you can have these sort of very you can have dreams about it. It can be archetypal. It can be memory. All of this stuff. It feels like death. Abandonment when you're in the tribes was death because you didn't have enough resources to feed yourself. So these are very profound templates. If you're projecting that now on the source supply of everything, it not only creates a traumatic psychological space, it also begins to manifest in your reality as an actual, into that actuality of storylines. So people who have very harsh life experiences may have these deep templates of this notion of abandonment by source, disconnection from source. God doesn't love me. I'm unworthy of God's love, etc., etc. But again, where we will guide you, and your heart showed you, this core disconnection is the biggest source of so much of the unhappiness on the planet, because when everybody feels disconnected from source, they're grabbing at each other for whatever they can get that their mind says might bring them safety or fulfillment, and they're ready to rob, steal, murder, and take from the other because the sense of lack, limitation is so strong, and that feels like the only way to get what will make you happy. So,
do you think most people unconsciously have that abandonment from source, from birth, because it was that separation?
That separation imprint. A lot of our dear friends do have this, and they have it in different flavors, which can then be also reinforced by the biological parents and how they're treated after that. Because when you come into an incarnation, first of all, on some level, there is this memory of being at one with source, and now that no longer being there. Now you're a baby, you're in a body, you're quite powerless as a baby. You come into birth state, into existence, you're there, and then you have these parents, depending on how connected or disconnected they are from their source, is going to be how they treat you and imprint you. And at that stage, when you're in a baby, they are the source.
Yeah.
They are the source. They're bringing you food, they're bringing you love, they're bringing you shelter. They are keeping you alive in that early point. So most people do have a deeply subconscious imprint about this separation from source. And that can be one of the biggest things that restricts happiness. When you look, because you have the psychological mind, when you look at animals, of course, they have instincts that will let them know if they're in danger. But animals, for a lot of the times, are not in such strong psychological states that they experience so much unhappiness as human beings, or clouds floating across the sky. They just keep getting to change form as they like and grow and expand. So at the beginning here, we talked about also discovering archetypes that can help you get into more of an embodied state of happiness. Because if happiness or joy or fulfillment is something that you are still feeling disconnected from, because it is also an innate part of your nature as consciousness, you most likely have a subconscious projection of happiness externalized outside of you. And
explain that real quick.
Yes. So when you are embodied more, you don't have this shadow concept. So most people know about this idea of the shadow energy. What is in my shadow? And if you're resisting anger, it could be anger. But also, if you are, for whatever reason, resisting your own happiness, a lot of the times the shadow projections become externalized.
Yeah, so you're talking about the trauma, the abandonment, the fear.
That would be what you would normally say is a
unworthiness.
negative shadow projection.
Okay.
All right. If you didn't know that. So let's just say if you had a lack limitation consciousness that was in your shadow, you're not fully integrated with it. You might see a lot of, for example, homeless people and feel very wrenched by that because you'd be seeing these embodiments of this deep suffering aspect externalized from you.
So that's a way to get rid of homeless is go inside.
Well, it's a way to assist lifting and dissolving that storyline from your collective consciousness. If you understand about this shadow projection, we can certainly talk about that a lot more.
Yeah.
But what many people don't understand is that many of their positive states of being that they're not integrated with because it might be being suppressed by a deeper belief structure that God doesn't love me also lies in the shadow. You probably have some kind of externalized concept of happiness outside of yourself. And this is where we'd like to bring in the concept of celebrities, dear ones, because a lot of the times what humanity does is it will pedestalize, put up on a pedestal, other people who, to somebody's idea, is the notion of happiness.
They got the money, they got the looks,
They got the money,
fame,
they've
the
got
love
the
from
ease,
all
the flow,
humanity,
the love of all,
all the opportunities.
Yes,
They got it all.
so it could be a celebrity. It could be, that person seems really happy. They're married to so and so, and they've got all the things.
Yeah.
It could be that. Celebrities may not be a scope of interest from you. It could be a certain flower that just embodies happiness. It could be a sunflower. You all have, and if you take a moment to look around your life, you have a concept of happiness that is externalized from you. Maybe it's a place, maybe it's Hawaii, maybe it's a beach, maybe it's a dolphin or something else. That part of your externalized understood manifestation is where your unintegrated frequencies of happiness are lying. For some dear ones who do have more of this kind of starseed origin, they may look to the stars and say, up there is where I will be happy. But all of it is consciousness. And this is such a wonderful hack for you to all play with, dear ones, that if you can commune more with that, and when you look at that celebrity and you see them what does happiness mean? It looks like they're free. It looks like they can do whatever they want. They have creative control of their lives, whatever it is. You start to use the love and acceptance on that. So I love and accept the part of me that is free. I love and accept the part. You look at a sunflower and it's cheery and magnificent. You say, I love and accept the part of me that's cheery and magnificent.
Okay.
Because it's out there, but it's still you because you're all consciousness. You're all part of this fabric of creativity. And it is, again, the resistance to the all that creates the contracted states that you read, experience, and have as unhappiness. So that is one. If you look at little puppies playing, if that makes you happy, love and accept the pup. Watch it. Be with that thing.
Joy.
Unify with it. And then you can even bring those things into your heart.
Okay.
Really unify and say, all right, I've externalized my joy into these little puppies. I'm going to bring them into my heart and soften in and embody them. You can imagine it. It's kind of like in a computer game where the person finds the pot of gold and puts it into them. You don't see them carrying it. They just put it into them. And now, bling, 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 they've got more extra points. You are the same. You can do that. It all comes from that non-resistance. Instead of if you're saying, you have this idea that this celebrity is happy, and then your mind has some jealousy or some like, well, why are they so happy? And there must be a bad person or whatever. Now your psychological mind is interfering and creating separation from this state that you actually want to embody. And the more charge you have around someone or something, it indicates the more adoration or the more judgment often indicates there's something there for you to embody. You can use this for wealth, abundance, health, well-being,
I wanted to say you had a Monday night transmission months ago, and you were talking about jealousy. And when you see something like somebody a couple really, really in love and stuff like that, you said that those are the codes for you. Instead of getting jealous that maybe you didn't have that in your relationship, you absorb those codes are for you. Absorb it. When you're jealous, you actually resist it, and that was in the air for you to absorb.
Indeed, yes.
And so I thought it was kind of cool that you...
Yes, and this is how you can use these big archetypes you have outside of you energetically. And the more power you see someone has, that just means the more energy there is for you
to have
harvest.
Power and absorb those codes for you.
Yes. But the mind is programming you from so many different levels. Oh, you shouldn't want that, or you shouldn't. And then all the judgment comes in. So have some fun with some of these concepts. This is how to gain some mastery over your creative experience and enjoy the game of life more by utilizing that. The radical non-resistance is to sit with the energy of things, whether in that moment it feels good or bad, because all of that will be defined by the mind. Don't buy into those definitions. Instead, go into the heart and receive what you need from that experience.
Okay.
Unify.
Just by receiving, just love and accept it. I love and accept the part of me that believes or that wants more romance. I love and accept the part of me. Feels like I don't have romance.
And you love and accept the part of you simultaneously that is resisting it. Okay. And that breaks down the mind matrix that has all these rules and regulations. You want to have an open mind, the no mind, none of the psychological walls that are saying this is good, this is bad, that create this maze in your reality for you to get into alignment with something. It's sort of like if I check this box and go around here and come here and then I get the Maserati and now I can be happy.
Yeah.
But if you just dissolve all that, you have a natural open state of flow, and that is where also that's where the heart's creating for you. So if you can get into your heart and stay in there, we promise you everything's easy after that.
Just love and accept everything and be heart-centered. That's what this work is all about.
Yes, indeed, dear ones. Yes.
Thank you so much.
Indeed. It is our joy.
All right. Well, we'll wrap this episode up. Thank you guys for being here. Tag your spiritual bestie. Make sure to subscribe.
Yeah, send this to somebody who needs a new insight on attaining happiness, someone who might be struggling right now, because their happiness could be closer than they think, because thinking is always
that's the first problem. And you guys, if you want to come interview this sucker, click the link below, fill out the form, and maybe we just might be seeing you in the studio next. Woo-hoo! We love you all.
We love you. Woo!
Bye.